on into Athletes Unplugged. This is the show that goes beyond the game. We let loose, we have fun, but most importantly, we find out what makes the biggest names in sports the biggest superheroes in the world. This is Athletes Unplugged. Hey everyone, welcome on into Athletes Unplugged. I'm Julie Stewart-Binks. Today I'm very thrilled to be able to welcome in pro softball player, former All-American, member of Mexico's Olympic national softball team, Danielle O'Toole. Danielle, we've been wanting to do this interview for a while and I am very thrilled that we've been able to make it work. You are scheduled to go represent Mexico at the 2020 Olympics in Tokyo, which will be played next summer in 2021. An incredible feat to be able to qualify and to be able to be there and do this for Mexico, the country, and for yourself. Like, what is the feeling like when you reach this milestone of saying, I'm going to go to the Olympics, and then hearing the news that it's been put off for a year?
When Mexico qualified, it was a very out of body experience. It sounds very weird to say, but I just remember feeling very blessed, very happy, very emotional, because this has been a long time coming for a lot of my teammates who have been on the team for a lot longer. You know, I had just joined the team in that summer, and then we qualified in August. So, and I was already emotional because I was getting married 5 days later. So, wow. Yeah, we got back. We finished in Canada. I got on a plane and then I got married 5 days later. So, but just being able to complete a dream of mine, and I know that everyone else on that team has had the same dream, but it has just been for so long. I decided this is something that I wanted to do when I was 14. So 11 years later, it's happening, and it's been a really long time.
Right. And I was reading in an article about you that you had planned after the Olympics to potentially retire and maybe do something else with your life at this point. It's a lot of time to dedicate to softball. Now that it's being pushed off for a year, in what way does that affect your plans?
I was considering, not playing anymore. My body's been through a lot. And I've been doing this for 21 years, almost 22. Wow. It has been a very long time that I've had a ball in my hand. And, I just got married. My husband's going back to school. So there's a lot of other things that are starting to happen in my life, that softball is starting to be something that's not just who I am, or not just the singular thing that makes me who I am. And that's, I think, a part of a lot of the struggle that a professional athlete goes through is, who are you? What's your identity? And that's something that's softball is just, when you look at me, you see oh, I should play softball. It's that's just what it is. So I think at the time when I had that interview, I was kind of in my brain understanding the Olympics are going to happen and then I'm probably going to stop. But it being moved doesn't change anything. I still want to go, still want to do it, still want to win. I'm still as competitive as ever in everything. I don't know if I want to retire. I just know that I might be ready for my next step in life.
Yeah, and that's a really powerful statement to say, because a lot of people don't really recognize that a lot of athletes, you're known by the sport you play, and that's sort of oh, this person does that, and it's but is that who they really are? And so in understanding that, what have you then maybe learned about yourself as to who you are? What is it? Have you identified maybe things that you like or passions you want to pursue that are outside of this? And maybe you could still play, but you could also do these things as well.
Yes. So since I was very, very little, I have loved anything that has fur, legs, skin, scales, anything that is not human. I love animals, reptiles, amphibians. I love everything. So I've had every pet you could possibly think of. So
what's been the most interesting pet you've had?
I don't want to say it's interesting, but it's controversial. I did have oh my God, my parents are going to kill me. I did have a pet rat at one point.
Oh my gosh.
But coming like into my own and like kind of having the time to take care of pets, I have realized that one of my longtime goals, and something that I would love to do, is maybe get, when we end up getting a place that I can have the land to do it, I would very much like to have a senior animal foundation. Just getting all senior dogs, senior cats, basically whatever I can take in, and making sure that they are loved and cared for and helped through the end of their life, because I have a very soft spot for animals who are not taken care of the right way, or that all they want is just love, and they just want to give love, and it's just not fair that they're treated poorly sometimes.
Oh yeah, that's really sweet. Like almost this animal sanctuary, right? Like
I would love to do anything like that. Yeah.
oh, that's great. Well, it's interesting to get to know more about you. I found something interesting, and I'm sure you've been asked this a lot, but so I'm Canadian, so I'm not American. I've never played for the US or anything like that, but you've played for the US, and then when you didn't make the roster in 2019, from what I read, you were able to go play for Mexico. First of all, I didn't know you could do that in softball. I know in soccer, you're sort of cap tied to a country. How are you able to play? When did the idea come to play for Mexico? And what was it like playing for the team that you had, or playing for a nation that you had been against as Team USA?
So I had actually, in 2012, which was my first year of college, I was told that I could be a part of the Mexican team. At that point in time, I had never even considered playing international ball. I didn't think I was even good enough to do it. So when I got a call in college at Arizona to play for the USA team, my mind was just like, it was an unreal experience, and I'm very grateful for that experience. And when I did not make the team, I went through a very hard time mentally. You know, we have to talk about this stuff, because like your mental health is important, and I was not. I went through a very bad phase. So after I kind of healed myself up and just like picked myself up, and with the help of some people, I got a phone call from the Mexico coaches, and they said, "Hey, would you be interested in playing with our team?" You know, my family is Mexican, like there's no doubt about it. So I thought about it, and you know what, if my goal and if my dream is still that important to me, that is something that I would want to do. And I didn't look at it as a team that I would be playing for, a team that I was against or anything like that. It was just playing for my roots, playing for myself, playing for my family, my heritage. So yeah, it was more about playing for the dream and the goal, and for the people who have been supporting you and behind you, than it was for playing for someone who I had played against often.
Tracking back to what you said about how difficult it was during that time, what kind of advice would you give people, other athletes that have to go through something like that or have dealt with something like that?
My mom gave me a journal, sort of, and I'm very creative. I'm very artistic in terms of like, you know, drawing and all that kind of stuff. I've always been that way. So she gave me a creative journal. It basically guided me through a section of myself that I needed. Like God, I'm gonna cry. Just like writing down how I was feeling. I don't know how to explain it, but like definitely my advice to other people who are in need of something, writing it down and like being completely vulnerable and honest with how you're feeling is the way that it helped me move on. Like that book helped me so much in terms of like getting my feelings out on paper and like reading it, and then the next day looking at how to be better, how to grow from the page before. Like,
yeah, I mean, it's such a hard thing to have to get over, but then also such a an opportunity that you're able to go to the Olympics for Mexico, and that shouldn't be lost for anyone watching this, that while that sort of dream with that avenue ended, another one was able to pop up. And for you, even just getting the call that there is another chance to be able to go live your dream, like what was that like?
It took a lot of like soul searching, I guess, and I knew that people were not going to be they were not going to be okay with my decision, but as long as I was, that was the only thing that mattered to me, is like, how am I going to deal with this? And I'm very glad that I did, because I absolutely love them. I love my teammates.
And so being with the Mexico national team versus Team USA, even just being, it's two teams, but it's two different nations. In what ways have you seen similarities or differences by even just how both go about their business?
In terms of playing, I think the majority of us played at in the United States for like colleges. So the mentality is very, very similar in terms of how things should look, and how the game is supposed to be played. So that is the biggest similarity, I think, is that you definitely see how wherever you came from in terms of your college, how that kind of blooms into into how you play as a professional athlete. So that is the biggest similarity. In terms of differences, I loved playing on Team USA. I'm very grateful that I did. It is just a little bit different. Just the culture is just a little bit different. USA is a lot more business, very goal oriented. And with Mexico, I have felt, I guess, a little bit more like sisterhood, a little bit more family. And that right there is basically because the Mexican culture is very, like, one of the values is family. You are family oriented, and that is just, I only feel that way because of what our ancestors, like what our heritage is and how we were raised. So
that's fascinating. And being now with Mexico's national team, like, in what ways have maybe you either learned or immersed yourself more in your own Mexican heritage?
I make jokes a lot because, I brought a boy home in high school. My mom's first question to me was, is he Catholic? And that's because my mother was raised Catholic, and being religious in the Mexican culture is very important. So I think now that I am a part of something a lot bigger, I've started to ask more serious questions in how my family got to where we are. A lot of my family lives in El Paso, Texas. They moved from Mexico, and then my grandparents moved from El Paso to California. So just kind of learning where we come from has been really cool to me.
Yeah, that's a great experience. I'm sure that your family is very proud that, you've been able to learn more about sort of their background and where they've come from. In that same idea, you're going to be playing with a number of women who are on Team USA, who are going to be part of Athletes Unlimited. And as you mentioned, there's so much of the college softball background that you guys have already, been playing against one another, playing with each other for so many years. But when you have women, first of all, I understand your mind is focused on Athletes Unlimited, but by the same token, you also are going to be competing in the Olympics next summer.
Right.
When you're with other players, what kind of things do you look for when you're looking at what, they might be your opponent, they might be your teammate? What stands out?
I keep a notebook of usually every game that I play in, or even the ones that I sit out. So I keep a notebook of everything that interests me in terms of the other players. I know that Athletes Unlimited has a number of, not only the United States players, but some of the Canadian and Mexico's. So it is going to be a little bit interesting. I know that everyone is going to have one eye open, and that is completely cool because all of us are extremely competitive. So whatever you expect from yourself, you can expect from other people. And I've said this before, I am very excited to play in this league because a lot of us have known about each other, like we are her acquaintances, or at least like understand like, hey, I know you, you know me, I know most things about you, but I don't know you personally. I am excited to get to know people on a little more personal level, especially since we'll be on different teams every week. I am excited to play with some of my old teammates from USA. I love those girls. They are very fun to be around, and they're great athletes.
I was reading somewhere that you really want to be. I was reading somewhere, it was on your website. You want to be a role model for younger players and kind of pave the way for them to be able to accomplish their dreams. From your experience, like, what does that look like? What do you want them to take from your journey?
I want you to be successful, and I want you to get what you need whenever you need it. And one of the ways that I do that, and this is very basic to me, but it doesn't, and I've shared my opinion on this, I keep my fee for lessons the same. It doesn't change, it doesn't go up. I do it what I think is reasonable in terms of what parents can afford like per week. I don't care that I am a future Olympian. I don't care about any of my accolades. I care that you get what you need because your parents can afford this. I'm not going to raise my prices because I am a whatever. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. I also don't double book my lessons. I make sure that I am with you and I'm with you only. If you ask me for a group lesson, I'll do it. But in terms of a private lesson, like, I will not double book because you are not paying me for half of my attention. And that is important to me because I did grow up with somebody who double booked. I did grow up with a couple people who charged an insane amount of money. And it's like, I'm one of 5 children. I don't know how my parents could afford to do anything else. You know what I mean? Like, so just those are 2 very basic examples of monetarily, to make sure that kids are getting exactly what they need. And it's straight up with me. I just want to make sure that you see me and you understand that I did not have a straight line to where I'm at. I've been through, it looks like this, and it looks like this. And I guarantee you there are other professional athletes who are exactly the same way. So when I talk about my story, or when I talk about what I've done or how I've gotten to this point physically, they understand that I failed. I have been knocked down on the ground. I've been hit hard in the game. I've been hit hard out of the game. So just making sure they understand, like, I am here to give you whatever you need whenever you need it.
Well, that's great, because as we talk about, for many in a socioeconomic bracket that isn't able to afford a lot of the time being able to play these different sports.
Exactly. And it's not just our sport. Our sport is expensive. Like, a bat is like $300+. Like,
wow.
It's a lot of money. Helmets are expensive. Gloves are expensive. One ball, it's better to buy a dozen than just one. So, but that's also expensive. So it's like tennis, golf. We are an expensive sport. So coming from an area that is either low income, that doesn't share the same socioeconomic status as somebody else, we're talking about inclusivity earlier. I'm not going to do that to you. And you know what? If you want to come see me and you can't afford it, I will take you anyway because I want to help you. Like, that is something that I would be very willing to do. When has no problem to me.
Well, that's great. And that is, it's very empowering that you have these messages and that you're really instituting this change, because that can only help future generations make softball more inclusive and for sports in general. So thank you so much, Danielle, for your time. And I'm also feeling very empowered by your journey and the messages you said of it's the roller coaster and it's ups and downs, but it's about really staying on and holding on and still going for those dreams. So thank you for sharing your story, and looking forward to seeing you play in AU and at the Olympics next year.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Want to be featured on Athletes Unplugged? Share with us one of your favorite memories from playing sports and tag us on all social channels at AU Pro Sports. And remember to like, follow, and subscribe. Till then, be unlimited. Be unlimited. Be unlimited. Be unlimited.